I stepped onto my front porch, exhausted from a 12-hour shift. My key rattled in the lock, but it wouldn't turn. Confused, I tried again. That's when I heard footsteps inside. The door opened a crack. Christina's face appeared, cold, smug. She barely looked at me. "Go away," she said, voice clipped. My heart hammered. "What do you mean? This is my house," she sneered. "Not anymore." Then she slammed the door in my face. I stood there, stunned, when flashing blue lights appeared behind me. A police cruiser eased up. One officer approached, cautious but firm. "Ma'am, we got a call about trespassing," he said. "Are you Jessica Taylor?" I nodded numbly. "This is my home," I tried to explain. "I own it." But Christina reemerged, pointing an accusing finger. "She's violating a restraining order. She threatened me. I'm scared for my son." Everything happened so fast. The officer asked for my ID. Next thing I knew, my hands were behind my back. They were reading me my rights. I was arrested at my own house. As they escorted me to the squad car, the officer said, "You're not allowed within 100 yards of Christina or her family." I felt my world crack. How could this be happening? I remember the day I first stepped off that plane in California, my heart pounding with excitement. I'd landed a dream job as a marketing coordinator, salary plus benefits. After years of saving, I bought a charming 3-bedroom home on a quiet street. A month later, I invited everyone over for a housewarming. Christina showed up with her boyfriend Mark and her 4-year-old son, Sam. I was thrilled to see them. We used to be close, sister nights, silly secrets, but it'd been years. I gave them the grand tour, beaming with pride as we walked through the living room into the spacious kitchen. Christina touched the granite countertops. "Wow. Where do you keep the rent checks for this place?" she asked, half laughing. I said, "I don't rent. I bought it." Her face changed, like a dark cloud passing over. Something flickered in her eyes, envy. Then she plastered on a fake smile. "Oh, must be nice," she said softly, "to just buy a house like that." Suddenly the energy felt strange. My parents weren't around anymore. Nobody had ever celebrated my successes like they did Christina's. But that day I sensed something sour, an unspoken resentment. I shrugged it off, hoping I was mistaken. After that party, Christina started dropping by. First, a casual visit on Sunday morning, then a random Wednesday evening. I wasn't upset, just surprised. She lived 2 towns over, but she kept showing up. One Friday, I found Sam in the living room watching cartoons, eating cereal from my favorite mug. Christina was rummaging through the fridge. "Just making breakfast," she said like it was normal. She'd ask me for small favors. "Could you watch Sam for an hour while I run an errand? Or can I borrow your phone charger?" I mostly said yes because, honestly, I loved spending time with Sam. He was bright and sweet, and it felt good to have family around. But the visits ramped up. 3 times a week, then 4, sometimes unannounced. I'd come home from work and find them in my living room. Once, I returned late to find Christina asleep on the couch while Sam was playing with my computer. One night, I woke up to get some water and found Christina in my kitchen at midnight, cooking pasta and chatting on her phone. Her eyes flicked to me. "I'm making food for Sam," she said, as if it was obvious. I realized then she was making herself comfortable, too comfortable. Christina dropped Sam off one Tuesday morning, saying she needed a few hours to handle stuff. I was working from home that day, so I said sure. I didn't question it. Family helps family, right? But those few hours stretched late into the night. Christina didn't answer my calls. By morning, Sam was still there, and I had an urgent meeting. Panicking, I scrambled to keep him occupied with games on my phone while I tried to jump on Zoom. Christina finally texted mid-afternoon. "Sorry, something came up. I'll be there soon." No further explanation. She arrived that evening, breezing in like nothing happened. Then it happened again. A couple hours. Turned into 2 full days. I almost lost an important client because I had to cancel a presentation. I was furious. When I confronted Christina, she broke down, crying. "We've been going from motel to motel. I'm out of money. Mark's between jobs. We just need time to figure things out." She sniffled, wiping tears. "Please don't give up on us." I felt my anger drain. Sam looked at me with big, innocent eyes. I sighed, pinned between my frustration and love. "Fine," I said, "but we need boundaries." I couldn't help flashing back to when we were kids. Christina was the golden child. She was always the pretty one, the cheerleader, the star. Mom and Dad showered her with attention, dance lessons, makeup tutorials, pageants. Meanwhile, I got told to focus on real careers, like accounting or engineering. Christina flitted from dream to dream, model, actress, influencer, never finishing anything. She was charming, and people loved her at first, but once they saw she rarely followed through, they backed away. Our parents died 2 years ago in a car accident. There was a small inheritance, which Christina blew in 6 months, claiming business expenses for some new brand rep gig. She never explained the details. I'd always been the serious one, the planner, the quiet caretaker. Now here I was with my first home, stable job, and a pile of debt from college. Christina had little to show for all her big talk and bright lights. She was almost 30 and had never held a steady job for more than 6 months. That morning, looking at her tear-streaked face and Sam's worried eyes, I found myself thinking, I can't let them sink. But this time, I'd do it on my terms. I told Christina straight out, "Look, you and Sam can stay with me, but there are conditions." She blinked, uncertain. I laid out a plan. She'd enroll in a community college program, anything that could lead to a stable career. I'd cover most of her tuition. She'd work part-time to pay the rest. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded vigorously. "Yes, I promise. I'm ready to change." I'd always wanted to see her succeed. Maybe we could be real sisters again. So I set up a guest room for them. The first night, Sam was excited, squealing as he jumped onto the twin bed. Christina even offered to cook dinner. It felt hopeful, like a new start. But I soon noticed something odd. Mark, her boyfriend, would linger after dropping them off. He'd chat with me in the kitchen, rummage for snacks, sometimes stay to watch a movie. Then it became normal for him to spend the night, sleeping on the living room couch or sneaking into Christina's room. "I thought you two broke up," I told her quietly one day. She shrugged. "We're trying to work it out." I swallowed my unease and told myself, boundaries. Remember the boundaries. The shift was subtle. Mark started showing up for dinner like it was expected. Sometimes I'd come home to find him already in the kitchen, rifling through my cupboards for snacks. He rarely asked permission. He'd sit on my couch for hours, sprawled out, feet on the coffee table, watching Netflix like it was his own place. One night, I came home late from work and found him playing video games on my TV. Christina sat next to him, painting her nails. Sam was asleep upstairs. No one even looked up when I walked in. I cleared my throat. "Hey, Mark, do you live here now or what?" He glanced at me, smirking. "Just helping Christina with Sam. You know how it is." I turned to Christina, but she immediately got defensive. "You're overreacting. He's Sam's father. He has every right to see him." I felt tension coil in my chest. Yes, he was Sam's father, but I never invited him to move in. The uneasy feeling in my gut told me something was off, but I didn't want to start a war. I walked to my room, fists clenched. I was paying for everything, and they were acting like I was an unwelcome guest. The next morning, I confronted Christina. I told her straight, "Your boyfriend can't keep sleeping over without contributing. I'm paying all the bills." She folded her arms, brow furrowing. "He's Sam's dad. Sam cries for him when he's gone." She sighed dramatically. "If Mark can't stay, then Sam might not want to stay here either." She looked me in the eye. "Do you really want your nephew to be without his father?" Guilt stabbed me. I wanted to protect Sam. He was an innocent kid caught between his parents' shaky situation, but I also felt used. My mortgage, my utilities, my groceries, now feeding 3 adults and 1 child. I swallowed. "Fine," I muttered, "but Mark needs to help out, get a job, pay for groceries, something." Christina just smiled, relief flooding her face. "Thanks, Jess. We'll figure it out soon. Promise." I turned away, feeling a knot in my stomach. Something started to crack inside me. I loved Sam like my own, but I couldn't ignore the reality. My sister was using him as a tool to get her way. And I was letting her. Things escalated fast. One evening, Christina complained about the guest room. "It's too cramped. Sam's toys are everywhere. Mark can't sleep on that tiny bed with me." I was in my home office, a space I cherished. It had my painting easel, a small reading nook, all my personal files. I retreated here for peace. Christina peeked in and frowned. "This would be perfect for us," she said, scanning the room. I froze. "My office? Seriously?" She shrugged like it was obvious. "There's more space. Sam's stuff could go in the corner. Mark and I could fit a bigger bed, Could you maybe move your desk somewhere else? I stared at her in disbelief. My entire sanctuary just handed over? My first instinct was to flat out refuse. But Christina's eyes brimmed with tears. Sam hates sleeping alone, and Mark's too tall for that twin bed. I hesitated. Please? She whispered, hugging herself. Then Sam bounded in, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. He hugged my leg. I felt that same crushing guilt. With a tight smile, I said, "All right, I'll clear it out by the weekend." She squealed with delight. I packed up my soul's refuge in bitter silence. I was hemorrhaging money. Mortgage, utilities, food, internet, repairs, even Sam's daycare. No one else contributed. Christina claimed her part-time job only covered her tuition. Mark apparently couldn't find work, always with some excuse. I saw my monthly statements and felt sick. My savings were shrinking fast. It was like running a small household alone, but with zero acknowledgement. One night, I confronted Christina and Mark in the kitchen. "I can't keep paying for everything. This arrangement isn't fair. I'm drowning here." They exchanged a look. Christina sighed dramatically. "You offered to help me with college. It's not my fault Mark hasn't found a job yet." Mark leaned against the counter, shrugging. "Times are tough. Not a lot of openings for my skill set." I couldn't believe this. "If Mark doesn't get a job by the end of the month, he has to move out," I stated firmly. My voice trembled, but I stood my ground. Christina's eyes flashed. I knew she was furious, but I had to speak up. I couldn't support 3 adults forever. As I walked away, I heard Christina mutter, "She acts like she's some kind of saint." My chest tightened. This was my own home, and I felt like the intruder. The next morning, Christina stormed into my room, face twisted with anger. She slammed the door behind her so hard it rattled. "How dare you threaten to kick Mark out?" she hissed. "You're so controlling. You're jealous of me. You always have been." I froze, shocked by the venom in her voice. "Jealous? Of what?" I asked, genuinely confused. Christina's nostrils flared. "You think you're better than everyone because you have a job and bought a house. You're bitter that I'm still pretty, that I have Mark and Sam." I stared in disbelief. "That's insane," I said. "I just want fairness. I never asked for all this drama." She pointed a trembling finger at me. "Don't talk to me about fairness. You got an inheritance. You got moved to California. Life just hands you everything." I felt tears burn my eyes. None of that was true. I'd worked hard, harder than she'd ever realized. She stormed out, leaving me shaking. I'd never seen her so unhinged. That night, I cried myself to sleep, hugging a pillow, wondering how my sister, someone I'd loved so fiercely, could paint me as a monster in my own home. A week passed in uneasy silence. Then, on a rainy afternoon, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to see a stern-faced man in a suit and tie. He handed me a folded paper. "You've been served," he said. Then he hurried off, leaving me stunned. I unsealed the documents. A restraining order. Christina claimed I'd threatened her with a kitchen knife, screaming that I'd kill her in front of Sam. My hands shook as I read the twisted story. None of it was true. My eyes blurred with tears. I felt sick. Why would she do this? Minutes later, she emerged from the kitchen acting surprised. "Oh, you got it? I'm sorry." But her eyes were cold, glinting with triumph. She whispered, "You left me no choice. You were trying to break us up." I could hardly breathe. This was my home. How could a restraining order lock me out? Then Christina reached for the phone. Within the hour, the police arrived. I tried to explain, but they had the court order in hand. I was forced outside. They told me I had 5 minutes to grab my essentials. Then they shut the door behind me. My own sister had orchestrated my exile. Sitting on the courthouse steps the next day, I felt hollow. My lawyer explained the grim truth. Christina and Mark had been living in my house for over a month. Under California law, they were considered tenants, regardless of our personal arrangement. To remove them, I needed to file for eviction, an expensive, time-consuming process. And because of the temporary restraining order, I couldn't set foot on my own property. If I did, I risked arrest for violating the order. I called Christina repeatedly, but she wouldn't answer. When I tried contacting Sam's daycare, I discovered the bills were overdue and still under my name. I was drowning in financial chaos. Sitting on a bench outside the courthouse, I felt tears prickle my eyes. I had done everything to help her. Now I was the one with nowhere to go, forced into legal battles, paying for a house I couldn't even step into. The betrayal cut deep. Memories swirled. Me teaching Christina how to braid hair when we were kids, me defending her when she got in trouble at school, and now she'd twisted a knife into my back. I covered my face, feeling utterly alone. The next steps looked daunting, but I had no other choice. I dragged myself to a modest motel near my office. Nothing fancy, just 4 walls, a bed, and a flickering TV. The smell of stale air freshener clung to everything. I tried to remain calm, but each day stretched into a nightmare. Work was suffering. My boss noticed my distraction and asked if everything was okay. I said yes, but the stress gnawed at me. My mind was a mess of legal documents, missed mortgage payments, and guilt over Sam. Money poured out. Mortgage for the house, plus the motel bill, plus my legal fees. I was hemorrhaging funds at an alarming rate. Every beep of my phone made me flinch. Another overdue notice, another attorney email. When I attempted to text Christina, she responded once. A picture of her lying in my master bedroom, with some snarky caption about self-care. My blood boiled, but there was nothing I could do. A few days later, my boss called me into her office. She mentioned my performance was slipping, deadlines missed, clients complaining. My heart pounded as she handed me a written warning. One more strike, and I could lose my job. All I wanted was to collapse onto the motel bed and never get up. But I couldn't give up, not yet. I tried everything to reason with Christina. I offered cash incentives. Look, I'll give you money to move into a nice place if you just leave my house. But she refused. Mediation? She laughed in my face, calling me desperate. I found out she and Mark were blasting me on social media. Posts of them acting like the rightful homeowners, living their best life. One particular post stung the most. A selfie from my bathroom mirror, with Christina grinning wide. Self-care queen, blessed life. People in the comments congratulated her on her new house. I was boiling with rage, but my lawyer said to stay calm. A meltdown would only fuel her restraining order claims. One morning, I got a text from an unknown number. Heard you're broke. Maybe you should have been nicer. Karma's a... I suspected it was from Mark. I felt trapped. Every door I tried slammed shut. Christina had all the power. She was inside my home, changing locks, refusing to pay a dime, twisting the law in her favor. Then, at my lowest point, my lawyer called. There's a motion we can file, use an occupancy, he said. It forces them to pay rent or leave. It was a sliver of hope. I clung to it like a lifeline. I filed the use and occupancy motion. My lawyer explained it would hold Christina and Mark financially accountable for every day they stayed in my home. If they didn't pay, they'd face eviction. As soon as they got the court notice, panic set in. I heard from mutual friends that Mark was scrambling, trying to find quick cash. Christina sent me a text. Why are you doing this to us? We're family. The irony was painful. I'd been paying for them all this time, but now they were accusing me of heartlessness. Days later, Christina reached out with a more polite message. Let's meet tomorrow, just the two of us, no lawyers. Maybe we can work this out. My heart pounded at the idea of seeing her again, but if there was any chance to end this peacefully, I had to try. The next morning, I arrived at a small cafe. Christina walked in wearing sunglasses and a forced smile. She hugged me like we were best friends. My anger roiled, but I kept it hidden. She sipped her latte and said, I have a proposition. I think we can fix this. I braced myself for whatever manipulative deal was coming. Christina's eyes sparkled with a fake warmth as she laid out her compromise. She proposed I drop the eviction case and let her and Mark remain as permanent residents, rent-free. The mortgage would still be entirely my responsibility. My jaw practically hit the table. You want me to sign an agreement saying you can stay indefinitely without paying a dime? She nodded, sipping her coffee. Yes, that way you can come back without drama. But we'll have rights as tenants, you know? I stared, horrified. You're openly admitting you lied about me threatening you? Christina shrugged. You know how these things go. I had to protect myself. It's not personal. That's when I remembered my phone was recording. Just a precaution I'd taken. Her words were coming through loud and clear. My heart pounded with a mix of anger and excitement. This was my proof. She was admitting to perjury. I tested the waters. But you told the court I was violent, that I threatened Sam. She waved it off. We both know that was for the judge. Don't dwell on it. I forced a bitter smile, thinking, gotcha. If the courts heard this, her lies would crumble. I ended the meeting, my mind racing with possibilities. My lawyer and I marched into the courtroom. My nerves were electric. Christina sat across from me, looking bored, Mark by her side, checking his phone. When the judge asked for opening statements, my lawyer calmly pressed play on the audio. Christina's voice spilled into the room, admitting she'd fabricated the knife threat, that it was all manipulation to stay rent-free. I dared a glance at Christina. Her face turned ghostly pale. Mark stopped fidgeting. Their attorney stood, stammering, demanding a recess. The judge's eyes narrowed in anger. "This is a serious matter," the judge intoned. "Filing a false restraining order is a crime. The court does not take perjury lightly." Christina shot up, trying to speak. Her lawyer tugged her arm, pulling her aside. Everyone spoke in hushed, panicked whispers. I watched them scramble, adrenaline surging in my veins. In the end, the judge revoked the restraining order against me and granted me immediate control of my property. Christina and Mark were now facing an eviction process with the added threat of criminal charges. When the session ended, Christina rushed out, not even looking at me. I felt triumphant, but also hollow. This was my sister, after all. How did we get here? I wasted no time. I hired a locksmith the same afternoon. Standing in front of my own door felt surreal. The new locks clicked smoothly under my key and I stepped inside, heart pounding. The stench of stale food hit me. My once pristine living room was cluttered with random trash. Piles of dirty clothes lay scattered. My furniture was rearranged. I felt sick, but at least I was back. I headed upstairs, checking the master bedroom first. It was trashed. The bed, my bed, was gone, replaced by a futon, the dresser drawers pulled out, holes in the walls from who knows what. My eyes stung. This was my sanctuary, and they destroyed it. As I wandered, I heard a small, familiar voice from behind. "Auntie?" I turned to see Sam standing at the threshold, clutching a stuffed dinosaur, eyes wide. My heart squeezed. He looked so small and out of place. I kneeled, arms open. "Sam, oh my God, where's your mom?" He just shook his head, tears forming. My anger melted into concern. Where was Christina? Why was Sam alone? Then I realized they'd left him behind. My heart hammered with alarm. I was furious and terrified all at once. Sam clung to me like I was his only lifeline. His clothes were mismatched, an oversized shirt, dirty sweatpants. He trembled, not crying, just silent. I walked through the house, turning lights on. Christina and Mark were nowhere to be found. My hands shook as I dialed Christina, straight to voicemail. I tried Mark. No answer. Sam's eyes darted nervously around the messy living room. "Are you hungry?" I asked gently. He nodded. In the kitchen, every dish was filthy. I found a single clean bowl in the dishwasher and made him cereal. He ate ravenously. It broke my heart to see how hungry he was. We headed upstairs to the guest room. The smell was awful. Trash bags, half-eaten pizza crusts, dirty diapers. I quickly pulled Sam out, covering my nose. He tugged my sleeve. "Daddy says don't open the closet," he whispered. I froze. Something about his tone sent chills down my spine. "Why not?" He just shook his head. He said, "Don't look." An uneasy feeling crept through me. What could they possibly be hiding? I decided to check. But first, I needed to make sure Sam was safe. "Come with me," I said, trying to be brave for him. My heart pounded as I eased the closet door open. I expected a mess of clothes or maybe stolen items. Instead, I found multiple bags filled with small plastic packets, hard drugs from the looks of it. It was clearly more than personal use. This was serious. My mind raced, seeing the volume of neatly packaged substances. Anger and fear tangled inside me. Christina and Mark had been stashing drugs in my home, endangering Sam, endangering me too. This could ruin my life if the police pinned it on the homeowner. I backed away, breathing fast. Sam peered around my legs, eyes wide. I had to get him out of there. Right now. Grabbing a small suitcase from the hallway, I stuffed it with a few of his clothes. I found his favorite toy dinosaur on the bed and gave it to him. He clung to it, sensing my tension. We left the house, locking it behind us. My mind was spinning, but I knew one thing for sure. I wouldn't let Sam stay in a place filled with drugs. Outside, I texted Christina. "I found the drugs. Sam is with me. I'm not bringing him back until you're gone." I strapped Sam into the back seat of my car, hands shaking. Where was she? And how could she abandon her child like this? We found a hotel near my lawyer's office. I gave Sam a bath. He looked relieved to be clean again. Then my phone lit up with Christina's name. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "You left Sam alone," I yelled. "And you hid drugs in my closet. Are you insane?" Christina's voice blared through the speaker. "That's our retirement plan. You think we can afford real estate or stocks? We're building something. You had no right to go snooping." I felt my stomach lurch. "Retirement plan? You're dealing drugs?" She scoffed. "It's Mark's side gig. He just needs time to flip it. We'll be rich, Jess? You're so uptight." I stared at Sam, who was curling up on the motel bed. My blood ran cold. "You left your child alone in a house with that stuff?" Christina didn't apologize. She just demanded I bring Sam back. "He's my son. He belongs with me." Rage coursed through me. "If you want him, you'll have to face me in court." Her screams tore through the speaker until I hung up, trembling. Sam turned to me with wide, worried eyes. I forced a smile, but my heart was pounding with dread. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again, another message from Christina. But I refused to look at it. The next morning, I woke to banging on the hotel door. I crept over, heart racing. Police officers stood outside. Sam was still asleep. My stomach dropped as I opened the door. One officer held up a piece of paper. "Ma'am, we have a report of child kidnapping. Are you Jessica Taylor?" I felt dizzy. "I'm his aunt. I'm protecting him. My sister left him alone." He shook his head. "We have a statement from Miss Christina Taylor claiming you took her child without permission. We need you to come with us." Within minutes, Sam was pulled from my arms. I was cuffed, humiliated in front of gawking neighbors. Anger and panic flooded me. "Please, let me explain. There are drugs in that house, hard drugs, in the closet. They left Sam alone for days." The officer gave me a skeptical look. "We'll investigate, but right now we have to follow protocol. We found no protective order naming you as his legal guardian." I got shoved into the back of a police car, tears burning my eyes. Sam was screaming, reaching for me. I wanted to die right there, seeing the terror on his face. But I had evidence. I had pictures, texts, the hidden stash. If the police would just look, maybe the truth would come out before it was too late. Hours later, I sat in a cold interrogation room. My lawyer arrived, fuming at the false kidnapping charge. I explained everything, how Christina and Mark abandoned Sam, the drugs in the closet. Finally, the police decided to search my house. I held my breath, praying they'd find what I discovered. They did. The detective returned, eyes grim. We found substantial narcotics in the property, and no sign of forced entry. The child was indeed alone. Christina and Mark were swiftly arrested for drug trafficking, child endangerment, and more. As soon as that happened, all accusations against me were dropped. I was free. My heart hammered when they said Child Protective Services had taken Sam. But I had evidence. Texts, pictures, witness statements. CPS quickly realized I was the only stable relative. My lawyer gave me a tight smile. "Looks like we can file for guardianship," he said. "It'll be a process, but we've got a strong case." Christina and Mark's house of lies collapsed in a single day. I left the station feeling drained, yet victorious. Finally, the truth shone through. But my heart ached for Sam, who'd been dragged through this nightmare by his own parents. A few weeks later, the court granted me temporary guardianship of Sam. The moment I brought him back into the house, a house I was slowly repairing, he looked around, eyes wide. "Is it all ours now, Auntie?" I knelt beside him, tears in my eyes. "Yes, baby, we can make it our home again." Over the next weeks, I poured my energy and savings into fixing the damage, repainting walls, tossing out old furniture, scrubbing the floors, and this time I gave Sam the guest room. No more cramped corners or filthy conditions. I found a cozy bed set, complete with dinosaur sheets. Sam lit up the first night he saw it. He whispered, "Thank you, Auntie," hugging me so tight I almost cried. Christina and Mark were still in jail, facing serious charges. Part of me felt a bitter sadness. Despite everything, she was still my sister. But the anger was overshadowed by relief. Sam was safe with me. On that final night, I tucked him in and he murmured sleepily, "I love you, Auntie Jess." I kissed his forehead, tears prickling. "Me too, baby," I whispered, heart full. "I love you too." And for the first time in months, I felt at peace in my own home.